Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again for another WKS podcast interview. This time I'm with Dax and Mike of a band called SuperJelly. How are you doing, guys?
Very well,
Pretty
thank you.
well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. All right,
How
so
are
we
you?
start off. Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah. So we start off then with Mike. And, first question is how you got into music in the first place. Where did it all start for you?
I'm not sure because I'm not really much of a music family. I'm from more of a family of artists, but I got into playing guitar really young, around 8, and then I got into AC/DC around 8, and Rainbow around 9, and it just unraveled from there really. And I played in bands all over the place. I lived in the States for the years. I ran a studio in the States for the years. I ran a school in the States, and I'm back here now playing music with SuperJelly and an American. So I can't get away from them.
Brilliant. Dax, what about yourself?
Well, it's been a long journey. Both of my parents are related to the music business. My mother was a musician when I was growing up, a singer in a rock and roll band that was touring the world like USO tours. And my dad was and is still a television director who directed about 200 music videos and concert specials for massive artists, iconic artists back in the day. And so I was around music my whole life, and certainly from my mom. I took a lot of music lessons, singing, piano, drums, guitar, and then started to build my own bands in high school and have been playing ever since, never stopped.
Brilliant. So Mike, how would you describe the music that SuperJelly play then?
It's pretty hard to pin down, to be honest with you, but I would say we're a kind of post-punk grunge pop, sometimes a bit bossa nova, sometimes a bit jazzy. It's really hard to pin us down.
Okay.
I'm from a rock background, so I tend to bring heavier guitars to the mix. But then again, we do play some nice sensitive songs too that are slow, interesting lyrics, lyrically interesting songs. Yeah.
Brilliant. So how many Dax are there in the band?
There are 5 of us, and I'm the token American, although Mike, well, don't let his accent fool you. He is Canadian by birth. But otherwise, it's 5 of us. We're all, of a certain age. And I think what I mean by that is experienced, and we're in it for the right reasons. And we are not teenagers, obviously, but we still are passionate about this, and really solid musicianship. And a focus on playing great music. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to for us, is we want to make the best original music we can. I think a lot of our compatriots are doing cover bands. Nothing wrong with that, but that's not our passion. And so we do a couple of covers, but almost everything we do is original stuff.
Brilliant. So who's the main, Mike, who's the main songwriter in the band?
Well, Dax was in a band in the US, or a number of bands in the US, but his last band in New York City was a band called The Days, who produced some really, really good songs and recorded a fair number of them, played some pretty good gigs and some good venues. So Dax has brought a lot of those songs along with him that he wrote, and there's some fantastic songs in there, real earworms. And then we've just added to our repertoire. I mean, Dax generally brings songs to the band. Sometimes they'll come out of jams. Sometimes they'll come out of something came out of something that I wrote the other day, and we're working on that. So, initially it was definitely Dax, who's a brilliant arranger, writer, composer, and producer. And slowly we'll bring our own influences to the band as well, which is nice. And it's all, there's no kind of hard feelings if somebody doesn't like it. We're all pretty decent people, and we get on pretty well. It's a rare thing in a band, actually. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just had I had a ton of material. And so what I did is I just played these guys recordings of 25 songs or something. And I was like, if you like it, let's do it. If you don't, that's fine too. And so that's kind of was the foundation or the basis for where the band got its initial material. But I love the fact that we're writing new stuff, and I love the new stuff we're doing. I think it's amazing new work. Brilliant. Sounds to my ears fresh. It doesn't sound like we're rehashing anything.
Brilliant. Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. So Dax, what music is out there at the moment from SuperJelly, and where can people get hold of it?
Yeah, well, I think if you want to find the band, the place to look for us is probably best on social media. And we go by We Are SuperJelly. So Facebook, Insta, all that kind of stuff. We are available on digital platforms. So we're on all of the streaming platforms. We've got 3 or 4 songs out now. We have a Bowie cover of Absolute Beginners, which is one of our few covers. Then we just love, we did our own thing with it. And we have a new song called Harpoon the Moon that's been released recently, which is getting some good response. And we've got new stuff coming. So we've actually, over the pandemic, we've been recording remotely for the most part. Like I'm sitting here, as you may see in the background, I'm in my home studio. And so I will, because we had time together before the pandemic, we had jammed on a bunch of things. And so what I'll do is I'll get a track going in the studio, and then the guys will go add their parts in their own home studios. Comes all back to me, and then I spend, like, you wouldn't believe how much time mixing and tweaking and adding and calling the guys and saying, can you do this? And so it's been a nice iterative process, but we have an album's worth of material. So I think we're actually thinking about what's next, and maybe an extended play is our next release in the coming months.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You mentioned then about the sort of lockdown thing. Mike, how did the lockdown, apart from obviously bands not being able to get together to rehearse, how did it affect, the music writing side? I mean, Dax was just saying then that obviously he's got the studio there, bits and bobs are sent out.
Yeah.
How did it affect you though, with your ability to put music down?
Yeah, it's a really good point, and Dax will attest to it. I'm utterly useless at it. I can play guitar, no problem, but I'm actually utterly useless at just doing it myself. I get distracted. I get, something else is on my mind. I'm all over the place most of the time. So I miss that, and I miss the producer. In this case, it's always Dax saying, no, try it, try it this way. And that being said, also the camaraderie, bouncing off each other. We are a live band, and I think that to be a good band, it's good to be a really good live band. And we bounce off each other, we smile at each other, we laugh, and you just don't get that when you're sitting at your home, for a year.
No.
So it would be a really interesting exercise to re-record some tracks again together and see what the energy was like. Sorry, Dax.
Totally, I'm up for it. You kidding me?
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
Just as an exercise, it might be curious, because there is a certain energy when you record that you don't get necessarily.
Brilliant. Yeah. Did you find, Dax, that you, do you write the lyrics mostly then, Dax?
Yeah, generally I do. And as the singer, I kind of feel like it needs to come from me to sing it effectively. If that sounds, it's sort of like, it has to feel really authentic to my experience in order for me to put it into song. I'm not, like a Whitney Houston type where you can give me a song and I can make it my own, like from a lyrical standpoint, or bring my own thing to it. It's like it needs to come from inside of me, or at least inspired by things around me in order for me to feel good about it vocally. I will say though, like, lyrics are a pain in the ass. I have the hardest time with lyrics. I can get to melodies in seconds, and those melodies can it can live on for months before I finally sit down. I'm like, okay, I've got to do lyrics. So that is the cross I bear when it comes to songwriting, because I can write the music in seconds. However, the song Harpoon the Moon that I mentioned was the first time, I have to say, I started with a lyric. I actually had penciled down some thoughts, lyrical ideas, and then we were jamming, as Mike said, and I said, I was like, those lyrics might really work with this melody. And that was a nice experience. So I should do more of that, if I'm honest. But yeah, I do like to write lyrics. I mean, I don't like it, but I'm glad when I do it.
Brilliant. Okay, Mike, what sort of, or who, musician wise or band wise, has been a big influence on you then?
I guess in the early days, it would have been that kind of 70s, 80s, what what we would have called metal in the days, which you probably wouldn't be calling metal nowadays.
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't call myself a metalhead, but I'm really inspired by modern metal bands like Rammstein and their kind of aesthetic and their show. And I want to go see them, and just experience it. But in honesty, I listen to a lot of yacht rock, Steely Dan, bossa nova type music, a lot of jazz, a lot of chill stuff that I probably don't look like I listen to. But I do play a lot of bossa nova and jazz, and I enjoy that vibe too. SuperJelly is just something different. It's just, I can plug my amp in, I can turn it up loud and, use some effects pedals and make weird noises, and that's great. And Brilliant. Dax is really open to that, and he encourages it, which is nice, because normally the guitar players told us shut up.
You turn down, please.
Yeah, turn down, please. Get your own pedal to control me.
Superb. What about yourself, Dax?
There were two bands that changed my life. And first of all, I think there's a phenomenon when you're maybe like 14 or 15 years old. That's the moment where you can get deeply impacted by an artist and it sticks with you forever. And that was my experience. The two bands were, and these are very different bands. One was the Cocteau Twins, which is a Scottish band that was not popular in the US, that some friend of mine put on a cassette and said, you've got to listen to this. And I remember the first time I heard it, it was that impactful. It just hit me deep, man. And then the second band was... I've
just learned something about you. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What a great band. That's such an odd, that's straight out of left field, isn't it? It's like, what the hell was that?
And the second band was Jane's Addiction. Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking album. That is another one. I think I was 16 or 17, that it hit my rebellious streak right in the center. And I was like, oh my God, this is something so innovative and different and heavy and intense and dark. And I just loved it. And those two bands, like if you listen to SuperJelly, you're not going to hear loads of Cocteau Twins or Jane's Addiction influence, but it is there. It's there. The rebellion is still there, as well as the ethereal beauty. I just love both of those. So they have impacted my songwriting for sure.
Were you living in LA when you saw Jane's Addiction, when you were into Jane's Addiction?
No, it was in New York, and I didn't see them live until much later. I was in New York at the time. Yeah.
Because they're like the quintessential LA band, aren't they?
That's true. Yeah.
Superb, guys. So how long have you been together as a band then, SuperJelly?
Well, Dax and I got together April a couple of years ago, so I guess that would have been 2019. Dax were the first to meet, and then we tried a couple of drummers. Bass ended up with Ben, who's a fantastic do-it-all drummer, a brilliant guy. Charles, great bass player, joined. I think, and Claire, wasn't it? We had a couple of singers, and we we're with Claire, who's a brilliant addition to the band. She fits in really great,
Yeah, I moved to England in October 2018, left my band the days in New York and came here, and I needed to find a band. And I was really nervous because I have to say, New York City has no shortage of musicians. You could put like an ad online and get 200 responses, and that's real. And you'd have to go through all these responses. And when I got here, especially because I'm not in London, I'm in Suffolk, I'm in Bury St. Edmunds, I was like, am I going to find good musicians? And it's been incredibly fortunate, incredibly lucky that I was able to find it. Mike actually came to me. I didn't even reach out to him. He's like, he found me somehow and said, I want to jam with you. And that's how this all started. So he's actually the first band member in a way, because he recruited me to work with him. And it's gone from there. So
like that. You need to up your game.
Brilliant.
All Cockatoo Twins.
Superb. Right, so Mike, we're coming out of lockdown now. I know you mentioned like an EP sort of stuff, but what's next for SuperJelly then? Where can you see yourself?
We're itching to get out there and play some gigs. We've got a gig lined up on the 14th of August, Dax, am I correct?
I think so, but I'm not sure.
It's a long way off, and I keep telling people, and they say, "Tell me closer to the time."
Yeah, yeah.
But time doesn't exist in the same way that it did anymore.
No.
So I think we're all really excited about gigging. Claire is the only, Claire hasn't gigged with us live yet, so we're really looking forward to her getting into that vibe with us and that experience. We practice religiously every weekend, and we're writing new material all the time. So, we'll just keep writing good songs and putting them on wherever we put them on these days, and playing them for people in wherever they want to come and listen to us,
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So you're managing now, Dax, then now coming out of lockdown to get together to practice.
Yes, I will say that there may have been times during lockdown where we accidentally practiced, but you didn't hear that on the radio or on the podcast.
We found ourselves in the same room. It was bizarre.
Just strangely, somehow. But now that lockdown restrictions are easing, and many of us have been vaccinated, so I think that's great news as well, is we finally can get together, without kind of being shady about it, and it's been great. And as Mike said, it's been a weekly thing, and I think that is how we roll. It's like we're committed to this, and we get together every weekend to make sure we can keep things going.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Right, final question for you now. I'll ask Mike because it's a bit unfair because Dax will get an advantage over this one. But okay, so is there anybody you would like to thank for you being here musically now?
Anyone I'd like to thank?
Yeah,
that's a bloody good question. I never thought about that.
See what I mean about being put on the spot to ask first?
That's a bloody good question. That is a really, really good question that I don't know if I can answer, because I certainly didn't get influenced by my family. I mean, not that I was discouraged, but I wasn't exactly encouraged. I played the French horn originally. Listen, I've been in lots and lots of bands all over the place, right? And I don't join bands to make friends. That's not my vibe. It's turn up, you play your thing, you go, you carry on with your life. But I've made friends with every single member of this band. Everyone has a quality. We all have our faults too.
Really?
And I have
Shall we go through them?
No, we haven't got time. But I have to say, where I am now is I'm influenced by the guys that I play with more than anything than I've ever been influenced, I have to say. I mean, I'm not a people person. I don't like being with people. I'm very much a loner, but I don't think I'd have a problem in a van for a day with Dax and the rest of the guys. Not a week.
Let's see what happens. Let's talk about it after the event.
That's a really good question. I honestly can't answer because I don't have a point. But I think my frame of reference now would be I'm influenced by the people I play with, and whoever I play with going forward, whilst playing with SuperJelly, that'll be my number one band. That'll be my gig. You know what I mean? And that's not, I'm not a sycophant in any way whatsoever. It's the only way I can answer that question without hurting my brain anymore.
Brilliant.
It's a good question.
Yeah. What about yourself, Dax?
Different answer than the bands I mentioned before. My answer is actually, and this may sound odd also, is Prince. The reason I say Prince is I really loved his sense of making the connection between artist and performer and like rock star. And I think that there is this balance of wanting to create music that offers something fresh and different and is accessible. And I just love that kind of ability that he had. When he died, it was a huge blow, I have to say. I also just liked his almost ability to do it all. Like he was running the studio, he was working collaboratively with musicians, and he had such an eclectic mix of styles. He was rock and funk and soul and hip hop beats, and and jazz, and even some classical, amazing artist through and through, and a hard worker. And I think Mike will attest to this. When we jam, we're not just getting together as the guys to have beers. You know, we're working. We work, and we put in the work because we care about the output.
Yeah.
And I think that work ethic is something that, as a musician, I am inspired by. And Prince to me was like the master of hard work.
Wow, superb.
Yeah.
Superb.
So if we're talking, I thought we were talking about individuals. If we're talking about music,
you can. I mean, that it's totally, you know, it's totally up to who.
It would be Dwayne Allman or Warren Haynes would be the guitar people. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Anything that the Allman Brothers did is perfect as far as I'm concerned. And if Dax and I can ever figure out how to harmonize guitars properly, we'll try it one day, eh, Dax?
Yeah, we'll give it a try. Yeah.
Superb. Guys, look, thank you so much for your time. If we want to stop recording, just hang around at the end because I will quick chat about something. But yeah, brilliant. Guys, good luck with everything coming out of lockdown, and you know, hope you come down this way soon. Be able to see you. Be brilliant.
We'd love
That'd
it.
be great. We'd love to.
All right, mate. You take care, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.